try to identify them if you can. And I always kind of like to put kind of an area of where it's at, because I have discovered that Wise County is Wise County, but things in the south always bloom earlier than they do at my place. I'm at the north end, and I think that's kind of cool. So, Michelle, wave to everybody. That's Michelle. She did a lot of these, and James is not here, I don't think. So he did a bunch of the others, and so did Landon. So anyway, I saw this guy blooming, and I was wondering what it was, and she thinks it's bee blossom, and she lives out at Boonesville, which is like southwest, maybe?
Yes.
Southwest, Wise County. This is goldenrod.
I want some goldenrod. I can't have none.
I hear it's really good for them. And she got some really good pictures. I don't know if you can see the little guys on there, but they're on there. And then this is Maximilian sunflowers. Thought those were really good pictures. Now, she called this gay feather, and I've always called this gay feather. Landon, who's not here, he sent it to me. He called it Texas Star Blaze. I've got his pictures. Here's his pictures. He said this bitterweed, which I hate bitterweed, and I'm going to be nice and not talk bad about it. But
Is that the yellow one?
that's the yellow one. It's very, very invasive. That little guy has a very woody stalk, and when we hit 115 that summer, that was the only green thing in my pasture, and nobody would eat it. The horses, the cows, nobody. And I swore up and down, the bees were never on it, and lo and behold, that year they were. And we got just a little bit of rain, and they bloomed out. And I have tried very hard to kill that flower, but anyway. But anyway, these are Landon's pictures, and he called it the Texas Blazing Star. So maybe it has two common names. He usually gives me the scientific name. Now James Johnson, who's not here, he sent me these flowers. He got a closer, he did a close-up. I tried to make some close-ups out of the shells, and they were just too blurry. She called it white heather aster, and he called it road aster. But she's again in Boonesville, and he's more here in Decatur. So they're both blooming. They're very tiny little flowers. Now here is James. He called it broomweed, and then Landon called it bitterweed. Either way, it's not supposed to make super good honey. James, have you ever been able to?
It is not supposed to, or it is supposed
It's not supposed to be a real sweet. Good. Do you know, James?
I have never made any honey off of it. I've heard of people that have made honey off of it, but I go after it for the pollen.
Yeah. Well, Landon said
It's in bloom all over the place right now.
Oh gosh, it does. It's very invasive. Landon said it didn't make very good honey, but my girls did go to. Here's some more goldenrod by James. Oh, and I love this. Now, keep in mind, these are not just, that Maximilian is probably one of the bigger plants, but most of these are really small little plants. This is verbena. Verbena is real good about coming back, and it's not invasive, so it's not a bad plant to have. And I love this one, curly cut gumweed. Thought that was pretty cool. Is it prickly?
I didn't touch it actually. I had my little boy with me, so we're just trying to not get stung or.
Yeah.
It looked. We're kind of far out there.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the end of that. So now we're gonna do some updates. Lou is gonna talk to you about the youth scholarship.
Okay. Is there a slide or anything?
Nope, there's no slide. You need the slide.
All right. So we're in the process of starting out the youth scholarship. As you guys know, we try to do this every year to really get the youth involved in the club. We ask them to write a essay, send it into the club, and then the officers review all of them, narrow it down, bring them to the club, and I think you guys vote on the overall who we believe would be the best candidate or candidates. I think we've chosen 2 in the last couple of years for the kids, and then they get a mentor. So that's another thing we'll be looking for as we get closer to that time, is if there's anybody that wants to be a mentor to a kid to help them with their hive as they go throughout their first year. So that comes up, I think we send out information next month, is that right?
We should start either next month or in January.
Okay, in January. And then, of course, they get their hives by April, I believe, so decisions are usually made
March.
March-ish, yeah.
We like to announce it March 1st.
Yes.
Or at the March meeting.
All right.
So we would judge in February, then we would announce in March.
All right. So hopefully that, I mean, any questions? It's a great program. If you guys know any kids, I think last year we didn't really have a lot of applicants. So if there's any youth that you guys know, family members, really try to get it out to them, try to get them submitted. We really want to get those kids involved.
What's the ages?
Well, we try to go third grade to 16. But, we have to make sure the third grader has a real proactive parent.
Mhm.
Because that is, they can't pick up those boxes.
My daughter was a scholarship winner 4 years ago, I think. And so that's how I got involved, is just helping her. And of course, she's all involved in sports in high school right now, so that takes up all of her time. So I'm here supporting her.
Yes.
Yes.
And I wanna say something too, that, as in any activity when you're working with the kids, you know, they do grow up and they do change their mind. And, I learned this through Eagle Scouts and with Girl Scouts, what they learned, that if they don't get their Eagle Scout by the time they're 16 and get that driver's license, it's real hard for them to get it after that, because they're everywhere but at Scouts. So, what we're trying to do here, come on in.
Sorry, I'm late.
Oh, that's all right. She's late, y'all.
And
I'm
this is
just
for
kidding.
you too.
Oh, thank you. But, we try to plant a seed, so we tried, as part of, our calling, we want to mentor other people. And if you ever wanna keep anything alive, you have to teach the children. I mean, anything. You wanna keep history alive, you wanna keep bread making, sewing, canning, anything alive, you gotta teach the kids, so that they grow up knowing about it and then they go back to it. So most of them, as well as what you know right there, when they get in high school, there is 5 million activities they're in, and they don't wanna keep beads, because they wanna go be with their friends. But what our hopes is when they become married and have their own kids, they go, maybe we should put bees in the backyard again. And then that's when they come back to their calling. So, you know, they don't always finish it out, they don't stay with it, but we hope they come back to it. So that's kind of how we look at it.
Well, I'll tell you what's happened with us. We were scholarship winners 5 years ago with
Abigail.
And she did her 2 years and then she was done because she didn't have a vented suit. And we were we thought we should wait until 4 in the afternoon to inspect. Well, we don't do that anymore. But in the meantime, her brother Elijah stepped up. And you would think right at the time, because all last year he was kind of, I'm not do it. And his mother was like, yes, you will, because we're doing the bees. Because the garden, we want to keep the garden pollinated. But this year, I asked him, are you the only one your age that you know who does bees? He said, no, I have another friend who's his age who's a beekeeper. I said, oh, well, that's kind of cool. And then the next week, because we go in weekly, the next week he said, well, I want to talk about bees. Would it be okay? Because we got 2 splits this year. So he said, could I have one of the splits for my very own, and I get all the honey, and I will do whatever. I said, oh, sold. You can do that. So boy, he has taken it on, but every week when we go up, he just turned 16. Miriam just turned 13. Miriam takes the pictures for me every week. And Hannah and Lydia, who are 8 and 10, I just have one suit that size, so they switch out. And one week one of them goes, next week the other one goes. So we always have the 3 of them. And now Esther, who is 3, wants to go, and so we have a little secret. She comes up and she just wants to see the bees. She just wants to see the bees. So anyway, it is carrying on.
And it does, and it brings families together and stuff, so. I mean, brought y'all out here, right? So anyway, okay, so Yvonne texts me on Tuesday on Facebook and says, I have got to talk at the bee meeting. And I was like, okay, what about? And she said, the tax laws. I've got to tell everybody about the tax laws. So she finally sent me a picture of it. I made her slide, and I said, hey, got your slide ready for tonight? And she goes, oh, I'm sick, I can't come tonight. So, and that was like at 5:30. So, I don't have that exempt, but she said she received this letter, and she said she doesn't feel like people are really paying attention to this. So if you're using these as an ag exempt, she was wanting to share this with you, but of course she's not here. So anyway, apparently she was real upset because she said people are not reading this letter fully and understanding what it means. So I took a snapshot of it.
So is she in Wise County, or what county is she in?
I don't even know. It's Yvonne. I'm assuming Wise County. Do you know her? Yvonne? Do you remember Yvonne?
Well, you want the tax law, this is the tax law, right here.
Okay, well, this is the letter that she got.
Right.
And she said that it was this form here.
Absolutely it is. I've seen 6
you
or
wanna talk?
7 of them right now.
Do you wanna talk about this then? Cause this sounds like it's right up your alley.
I didn't come here for this.
You can do it though.
Surprise.
Yeah, come on. Show us that stuff. Cause I didn't read it cause I thought she was gonna do it. So,
Okay. So the Wise County Appraisal District is sending this letter out to all new people, new beekeepers that have filed for 1D1 agriculture in the last 2 years. I don't know of anybody that they've sent letters to that have over 2 years, or anybody that already has their agricultural tax exemption for bees. Wise County Appraisal District doesn't have a clue about bees. In fact, I've got a meeting with them next Thursday, because they canceled the meeting on me today. I was going down to the appraisal district to present cases for the beekeepers and try to get more clarification. Some of the laws that are there is chapter 23 of the Texas Ag Code, and it's paragraph .51. Talks about the terms also include the use of land to raise bees for pollination or for production of human food. So we think about that, pollination or production of food. One of the questions they got there is they want to know how much honey you produce. Is it really any business of theirs? And this is one of my arguments with how much honey that I produce. The law says I can have bees on my property for ag exemption for pollination or
food.
or for the production of human food or other tangible products. What the county's trying to do, and if you go to, this comes from the Texas Comptroller, Manual for Appraisal of Agricultural Land. It's a big, long one. And in the back of this is a worksheet. And on that worksheet, they're trying to determine the valuation of your land based off your input cost and what you get out of your outputs. Most of this land here in Wise County is all native pasture. You get down to Brazos County, native pasture for cattle is valued anywhere from $40 an acre to $90 an acre, agricultural exemption. Brazos County down there, that's what they do for cattle down there too. But the county appraiser, based off how the beekeepers fill out this form, have increased the property value on agricultural land for bees to $900 an acre.
Well, that makes sense.
I'm glad I'm disabled.
Think about it, you got 10 acres, you can have one pair of cows, cow-calf, right? You raise that calf up to 1,000 pounds, 1,200 pounds, and you get $2.50 a pound for it at the sale barn, right? So you make $2,000 off that one calf. Now try to make that equivalent into honey production. How much honey do you have to produce, and how many hives is it gonna take to produce that same equal value in beef? a lot more. You're gonna have to have 40, 50 hives out there. Well, the terrain won't support it. So I've been battling with Wise County Appraisal District and working with Jack County. They've been really good, Jack County has been. But, so this questionnaire is very, very important, how people that are keeping bees on their own fill out this form. Your input costs. You wanna make sure your input costs are high and what you're getting back is low. They are.
Yeah,
they are, they're so right.
Absolutely, right? A nucleus hive of bees, if you gotta buy a package, is gonna cost you $225 to $250, just for the bees. Now you got your equipment, you know what the equipment is. On average, it runs about $700 per colony for that first year. That's just in your equipment, in your protective equipment. That's not counting your feed at $5.50 a gallon for high fructose corn syrup. Doesn't include your mite treatments, it doesn't include your nosema treatments, it doesn't include treating for terrestrial mites or European foul brood or any of those other diseases. So when we fill out this form, they're also wanting to know the hive condition.
That ain't
You
no
know?
good.
I could change.
And the book that they're using is a book that everybody loves, Beekeeping for Dummies, right?
Oh, wow.
That is the book that they're referencing. The forms that I filled out for my ag property so far is averaging, input cost is about $750 a hive, input cost. All first year hives have got zero honey production.
Right.
Zero honey production. Because even here in Texas, we lose our nectar flow. Our primary nectar flow is done into July. When does it start again? Late April. So that hive, to get from July, if you don't supplement refeed, which will be a different subject here later, if you want to just leave stores on that hive and let them use, they need 100 pounds of honey on that hive to get from July 30th to the following year. And we want to go out there and rob 60 pounds of that for ourselves. Do we want to tell the county that we're robbing it? But if you go to the U.S. Farm Report and look at it today, you know what your honey is worth at the U.S. level for Texas honey today? $1.80 to $1.90 a pound.
Wow.
So if you report that you're selling honey to the county, I'd recommend that you use the USDA current market report. Light amber, Texas clover today, $1.80 to $1.90. So you took 30 pounds of honey off your hive. You got $750 worth of input, and you got $45 worth of return. Okay? Now, the bottom of the form, it says it does have to be filed with the county by January 15th. So it used to be you had to go in and file the 1D1 application in Wise County every year, the whole form. Now, they haven't told me whether you're still going to have to submit that complete form for every year plus this survey, or whether this survey will hold up for that 5-year period until you get your ag exemption. We have that meeting next Thursday at 3 at the Wise County Appraisal Office, and it's open to the general public. And it's the Agriculture Advisory Committee that is talking to the county appraisers and the chief appraisers to determine how they're going to tax agricultural products. We may not get to talk about bees in details, but we can get it on the floor and get to talking about it. And like I said, I got bigger and better things going on. And so my term as secretary may be very short, but I'm working with the TBA very in depth on this matter. So, any questions about the ag laws?
This has to be filled out every year?
If you get the survey, they're saying if you don't fill it out, they're automatically gonna take your ag exemption
Well,
away.
My thing is disabled through the military, so I don't have to have the ag exemption. This is what I started the bees for, but I don't have to have it when I found out about that, so You know, I don't have any ag yards, and I was thinking about that, but I'm not messing with that now.
Yeah.
I don't want the county into nothing I'm doing.
I haven't filled this form out for our operation. I have not received this letter from the county,
Right.
and when I do, then I will fill it out. But there's a lot of stuff. It's like you want your apiary location. You know that your apiary location is a trademark secret by law in the state of Texas?
Well then.
You can give them your parcel number, but you don't have to give them the precise location of your apiary. We're also discussing the length of time the bees have to physically be on the property. According to the ag law, it says the majority of the year. Well, what is the majority of the year? Now, we've got Denton County convinced it's 6 months and 1 day. Other counties are saying 7 months. We're fighting for 6 months and 1 day here in Wise County. Good. There's 2 of us migratory beekeepers here in the county, me and Donnie, right? I don't know of anybody else that migratory. So it's important to us that we can move our hives around doing this kind of stuff.
When you need to,
Pardon?
when you need to.
When no need to.
Not
And
when the
it's-
county thinks you need to, but when you need to.
When I need to.
That's right.
You know, I may need my bees in South Texas from January 1st to July for that nectar flow down there. I may even want them up here in July and August to catch the sunflower crop. I may want them in Lubbock
Right.
for the cotton crop or the melon crop. So it's
Because
important to
you
me.
get money off of that.
I make money off of it, yeah. So there's, also, Title 8 of, Chapter 252 of the Ag Code also discusses, bees in detail, or kind of detail on how it qualifies. Now, if you start a business with your bees, which goes a little bit farther, they like to charge you with a business property tax. That's the other thing that what appraisal district was trying to do.
Okay, so
Reed
you,
has moved up to the country.
You just moved the country, but you're a business, you file and you wanna sell honey. Your daughter's got honey, she wants to start a little business, just kinda like her freeze-dried candy. She develops that into business LLC. As soon as you file that with the state, the county gets notified, and the county comes after you after business taxes, right?
so you said you were gonna go and talk to them next week?
Next Thursday, at 10 o'clock, or 3 o'clock.
Maybe you need to do a program on this for us.
I don't know about that,
I think that, can I put you down for November? Oh, no, wait a minute, we gotta talk about the tasting.
no,
I know.
I gotta have at least 3 weeks' notice, I got some other
How
stuff
about
going
December?
on. Pardon?
Can you do December?
I gotta look at the calendar first.
Okay, why don't you get back with me and see about December?
Yeah.
Cause I think this is very important for us to know and understand.
So if you go to the Texas Comptroller, there is this manual, it's thick, it don't all apply just to bees, it's all agriculture, it's the big thick manual. And I haven't gotten totally through it for agricultural appraisal, and it covers everything agriculture, and including your equipment. Because the county's trying to tax the equipment, your extraction equipment, your bottling equipment, they're trying to tax all that. There's also another manual called the Texas Property Tax Basics Book. It's thick. Some of these I got through and I had them highlighted. Not that one. And then there is a Texas Property Tax Exemption pamphlet. All 3 of these come from the Texas Comptroller. This one is one I've been working on recently. And this is about exemption, stuff that you don't have to pay in personal property taxes. Farm products, livestock, poultry, agricultural products, eggs, and some nursery products are exempt when they are still in the hands of the person who raises them. Nursery products, whoever's growing them. Farm products include standing timber. The thing I wanted to point out to the county here is that they state livestock. Per the USDA, honeybees are livestock,
Right.
right? And that's how we were able to get Bs for agricultural tax exemption. Machinery and equipment used for farm, ranching, and timber production, regardless of primary design, is exempt.
So that would be extractors.
That's your extractor. That's my forklift. That's my tractor. That's my trailer.
Right.
You
All that
know,
stuff.
all my high boxes, because that's equipment. The county wanted to tax my high boxes.
Hot boxes that you have to replace, what, every 10 years or so?
Well, depends
How
on where
hard
you
you
are.
are on them.
Depends on how good you paint them and how many fires you got, or how many termites you got, or how much
Oh.
wax moth you get. It all depends. But these are three good publications from the Texas Comptroller. Like I said, manual for the appraisal of agricultural land, Texas property tax exemptions manual, and Texas property tax basics is what the appraisal districts use to determine your appraised value. And as far as, you know, give them the data, your agricultural code is code 252, also section 131. In fact, in section 131 of the government, chapter 252 or 552 government code, and is where it talks about your apiaries are a trade secret and do not have to be disclosed. Also, it talks about in the same chapter, each beekeeper in this state may register on an annual basis. Some of these counties are asking that you, when you file for your 1D1 ag, they're trying to make it mandatory for you to register your apiary with the state apiary inspection service. The law says may, it doesn't say must. So, for
Which
little
now
guys,
registration is a cost.
pardon?
Registration is now a cost where it used to be free 2 years.
And it's $35 every year.
Every year.
So that's another thing that I'm having discussion with them.
So they're doing all your honey sales.
Yeah.
Yep, it all takes.
$35.
Way to spotlight that.
Yeah.
And you may not think some of this is, or could think it's kind of petty and minor, you know, you're just a hobby beekeeper, you've got half a dozen hives, you want your agricultural tax exemption. But what they do to you as a little guy affects the bigger guy too, or what they do to us as a big guy trickles down to the little guys as well. And I'm not a big guy, I'm just a.
We think you're a big guy.
Yeah, you're a big guy.
I think what they've done is that they've figured out all of the folks that are doing this and trying to figure out a way to make money off of it.
Well, we've
The
had
revenue.
such an influx of people moving out here
Yep.
and buying the smaller tracts, the 6-acre tracts, and trying to get the ag exempt on the other 5.
Yep.
And, they got smart and they allowed you to add horses,
Right.
but,
But you gotta watch the horses, because you
Yeah.
must be able to prove that they're being used in a ranching
yeah,
type of activity.
so.
If
you
it's just a hobby horse for trail riding, it's supposed to go out the door.
They're just trying to figure out ways to tax you.
That's all they're doing. They see lost revenue.
Yes, they
That's
do.
exactly
That's
what they see.
I don't think they'll let you do 5 acres anymore in Wise County, is it?
It's 6, you have to have 6.
I mean, some cases, if it's not previously, they won't even let you do 6. Because you're gonna take an acre off your homestead exemption. so
Right.
You only have fundamentally 5.
Right,
Because I actually have a friend who's exact same case, is that he has 6 acres, but he just falls underneath that 5 acre or 5.8. He can ag exempt, they won't let him because he doesn't have a full acre.
Well, the reason they're not letting him is because he's not going in there with the tax law document that is written in Austin and was approved by our senators in Austin. When you go in there with the documentation, they can't dispute it. The state law says minimum of 5 acres. It doesn't say minimum of 6 acres or minimum of 10 acres. And some of the appraisal districts are trying to do that, especially down around Houston. But the Texas state law says, in black and white, 5 acres. Now, if you got 5.5 acres and you build a house, now you've got 4.5. Now you don't qualify.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because they're requiring you to take an acre
Yeah.
for your house.
That's right. Yeah.
So if you got 6.1 acres and they're saying you can't get ag exempt on 1D1, they're wrong, because you've got 5.1 for ag and you've got the other acre for your homestead. But what's happening is, and I get calls all the time, property owners calling and says, well, the county says I can't get ag exemption. Well, how did you approach the county appraiser? And if you don't walk in there with the law, I don't care how many times I go in there or give them a call and says, yeah, they qualify. Here's their property, here's their tract, they qualify per the Texas law. They'll turn them down every time, all the time.
Why though? I don't understand. You've got.
They don't want to lose the money.
I know.
And Joe Blow, or Jane Doe, or whoever that walks in the tax office that just bought
They're not gonna
6
know that.
acres in the county, they don't know anything.
Right.
So we as a beekeeping community group need to get educated on these tax laws, and they change annually, but usually not. Get educated in them so we can help these people when they call, says, I'd like to have bees so I can get agricultural exemption. If we can get to these people before they go to the county, we can help them out. What's the difference in property tax? I'll tell you, Jack County, I mean, I think we were paying $700 a year in Jack County on our Jack County acreage, 15 acres. I just got my tax bill last night. I think next year, January, $7.20. That's quite a savings. It don't sound like much, but it's still quite a savings.
You say it'd be about 1,500 to 2,000 a year
Right.
in tax exemptions. Yeah.
I know a guy in Sunset,
10%.
he bought 6.5 acres up there, and he got his first tax bill, $14,000. And it's just raw land.
Yeah.
But he paid, I have to guess, he gave somewhere around $35,000, $40,000 an acre for it.
In what county?
It's northern Wise County.
Wow.
And the county, as soon as a piece of property changes hands, they're pulling the ag exemption away. They're not telling the property owners until they get the bill in the mail. They're not telling them.
I thought if it was already established and you then brought in your agricultural stuff, that it stayed.
If it was already ag exemption, and when you take possession of the new piece of property, you as the new landowner have to go in and fill out the application and you keep it.
Right.
Yes. you
But
gotta
what's
be very
going
careful.
on is, these developers are buying this land, they're selling these parcels. The county is taking it out of ag, and they can do that, and you have 18 months to get it back into ag without paying the penalty. But they're not penalizing the developers.
Penalizing the homeowner.
They're penalizing the homeowners, because the way is, the law is actually written, is the person that takes it out of ag has to pay the back 3 years the taxes on it at a residential rate. So the developers are trying to flip this real quick.
And they're not telling that.
They're not
that
telling
buyer-
them, you bought it as a new piece of property, and you didn't know, and you're getting a 3-year tax bill for the previous 3 years of residential tax.
Or you have to say to get, I mean, it's tricky. It's tricky.
Yeah, they're being real tricky about it. But anyway, that's what the form is. I just try to keep it as generic as possible. I try to keep my input costs high and my outputs low, what I can get for it. I mean, how would they know how good the brood is? I mean, it's just, Beekeeping for Dummy book is what they got that from.
Well, I saw a picture of that in the book, and this is what it's gotta look like.
Right.
They're not gonna open it and check it.
Yeah, I got somebody loving them coming open.
That's what I know about the tax law.
Well, we're gonna put you down for December, so check your calendar. So, you just have to be very careful about all that. And sometimes the county's not always the person to ask. Cause it's like if you call and ask a question, and I've always talked to Penny, and she's really nice, but she always asks for my address. And my husband is in the background going, don't you tell her that, don't you tell her that. Because he thinks I can, I'm a little more relaxed, and he's a city boy, and so they're a little more receptive to me than they are to him. So he's afraid we're gonna lose our ag exempt, but we bought our property back before all of this, so. But when my children inherit it, they're gonna have issues.
And Penny is pretty good to deal with
She
down
is.
there.
And she'll send you the documents, she'll email them to you so that you can see, cause I was just gathering information for the club at that time, but obviously you're way ahead of me. So we just need you to let us, keep us in the know.
Add that to to-do list.
Yeah, and that's your to-do list. Okay, so now, I think that's everything. Yeah, we were gonna do a split, but I think everybody's been here before, so we don't really have any new beekeepers, do we? Cause we were gonna go down the hall if you wanted to do a new beekeeper session, or stay here and you can do the feeding. What do y'all wanna do? Cause
Feeding's great.
all right, let's stay here then. All right, it's up to you now.
All right, perfect. So be respectful. I'll get through some of this pretty quick. If you guys have questions, I'll be around afterwards to answer anything. But we're gonna talk about winter preparations. Although it's 90 degrees outside, thinking of winter is wonderful these days. I look forward to it, but we need to make sure that our bees are healthy going into winter, because now is the time they start raising winter brood or winter bees that have a little bit more fat bodies that are able to last throughout the winter. We need to make sure our bees are healthy, make sure they have the right nutrition in order to do that through the next couple months. So how much should we keep? You listen to you read multiple articles, listen to multiple podcasts, talk to different people. You know the saying, you ask a beekeeper, 10 beekeepers a question, they're gonna give you 11 different answers. Well, it's true. I think Jim said 100 pounds is safe to keep throughout the winter. Recommendation from A&M is 60 pounds. And then you have the Be Mindful that says 80, and then Scientific Beekeeping, who's in California, says, well, your top box should be mostly full. So how much is that? 10 deep frames. A deep frame, if you have 2 boxes, that each frame, if they're full of honey, about 8 pounds a piece, 8 to 10. I try to go on the low side, right? So it's 8 pounds. If you have medium frames, so if you have a deep and a medium, or 3 different mediums, that's 14 deep frames of honey that you're gonna need to have in order for your bees to get through winter by these recommendations, right? I have some links. I'll try to post this on Facebook so that you guys have access to the links if you want to go look and read. I have a lot of research data in here, so happy to have you guys go through that and ask any questions. So why? Why should we check? If you guys haven't been to the Bee Informed Partnership website, they're a great resource to learn about mites, to learn about feeding, to learn basically everything. What they do is they send out a survey every year to commercial beekeepers, to hobby beekeepers, and I think backyard, so they call them backyard, sideline, and commercial. They send this survey out every year, and they get the information back, and then they compile it and they share it with everybody if they want to look at it. And it really has some really good information. So I just pulled this year's, well, not this year's, but it was last winter's survey, which is actually the same as the previous year. So it hasn't changed between 2021, 2022, and 2023. Starvation for a hobby or a backyard beekeeper is starvation. That's the 3rd leading cause. Of course, the first one is mites. So if we don't have our mites under control going into winter, mites feed on fat bodies. What are winter bees made out of? More fat bodies. So you're gonna have higher mites. Of course, we talk about mites all the time. I'm gonna try to push that to the side and just talk about feeding. But if you look at the commercial, so people like Jim, their starvation is the lowest because they are probably in a regimented routine of feeding their bees every week or 5 days or whatever your schedule is, but there's a schedule that they have, right? So there's no or very little risk for a commercial beekeeper to lose their bees because of starvation. And so again, if you guys haven't been to this website, great website. They have tons of information on there. Really highly recommend that you take a look at that. And this is a PDF that you can download. if you want to go a little bit geeky and read into all the data and things like that.
And you're gonna post that link on the page?
I can post the link on the page.
Okay, what is the name of the website again?
It is called Bee Informed Partnership.
B?
Bee, like a bee. So BEE, Informed Partnership. It's really small, but it's down here. So I'll post it on our Facebook site, so you guys can easily have a link to it. So different ways to feed, multiple different ways. They have their pluses and their negatives, but I'll just briefly walk through a few of them. So you have your hive top feeders. So these are feeders that usually take 3 to 5 gallons of feed. You set it on top of your hive, you pour in your feed, you hope the bees eat it all, they don't all drown, and you come back next time and it's all empty. The issue that I don't have any of these, but the issue that I've heard with these is the bees don't consume all that syrup by the next time you go in, so you have a tub of sloshy syrup that you're having to lift and move off, spilling everywhere, and of course it could be heavy. So I don't use any of those. There may be somebody that does. Not a bad thing. It's just that's one of the downfalls of that feeder is if it's not empty, you're going to be sloshing liquid around, and possibly if you slosh it around, could maybe start a robbing frenzy if the bees notice it. You have the interior top feeders. I know that some people use these, so it's basically your inner cover. Some people use just their inner cover, set another deep on top of it, use a mason jar or something with a hole in the lid, set it on top, put your top on that, you're good to go. Benefits of that is you don't really have to put all your gear on, maybe just your veil and a couple things to change that out, where some of these other ones you're being a little bit more invasive into the hive, and so you'll have to get in to feed. So that one works well, but it's unless you're using maybe a 1 gallon bucket, you're having to go in quite a bit in order to feed that hive and keep it, make sure that it has feed in it continually. Open feed, again, don't have to wear any equipment, which is really nice. You can just walk out, you can see how much is there, how much is not. Bad thing is you're probably not feeding just your bees. You're feeding everybody else's. So if you guys want to open feed and you live anywhere in Chico, Texas, let me know. I'll be happy to have my bees around there so they can enjoy some of that quality feed that you guys are getting. But that's the bad thing. Again, nice thing is you don't have to have equipment to go out, change it out. It's quick to do. But again, you're feeding everybody else's bees, maybe hornets, wasps, whatever else wants to get into it. Boardman feeders. This is one of those that if most websites you look at, so it's like a mason jar and it has a little tray on the bottom of it and you slide it into the beginning of the hive or the entrance of the hive. Most websites, most people that you talk to don't recommend using this anymore for any type of feeding. Why is that? Yes, it's easy to get to. You don't need a lot of equipment to change it out. But it also promotes maybe robbing. So if another bee comes in, it's easy to get to, all of a sudden they're in the hive. Well, now they're gonna go further in the hive, get some of the honey, some of the pollen, other things. So Boardman feeders are not recommended to use, at least from my standpoint, and most articles and podcasts that you will listen to. Frame feeders, probably one of the more invasive feeders that you have to use. You have to get into the hive, you have to take off the lid, you pour the syrup in there, and then you put everything back. Depending on where you have it, hopefully it's in your upper deep box. If you have it in your lower deep box, then of course you have to take that off. Usually stores anywhere from a ½ gallon to, I think they have 2 gallon feeders that you can use. These are ones that I use all the time, but that's just my personal preference. And they usually have ladders or things like that that help prevent drowning. Doesn't stop it because on a constant basis, I'm digging out dead bees. So, and then the other one I think is probably the most economical, easiest to use is the bucket feeders. So that's usually if you have a migratory lid, or if you have the inner feeder with a bucket type setup. It's a 1 gallon bucket usually with a hole in it, and then that's set over a hole in the hive where the bees come up and grab the syrup, bring it down to the hive. Easy to change out, quick, little equipment is needed in order to make that change, because you're not really opening the hive other than a 33 millimeter hole, size of a mayonnaise jar lid. So quick and easy, and the buckets aren't very expensive to get. Questions on the ways? Yes, sir.
Do you have to put a deep box around that bucket feeder?
You can, I've seen
You
where,
just leave it open?
no, you just put a brick on it
You just leave it open?
and
It
just leave
depends
it.
on your top. If you got a migratory top with a hole drilled in the center, you put it right over that hole in your migratory top.
So
If
what's
you're
the
using
migratory top?
that's just a flat piece of plywood that goes over the top.
don't have
Instead of a telescoping. If you're using a telescoping top, then you gotta add a box, got your inner cover or a board with a hole in it, put your bucket on, put your top on, so it just kinda depends. When I said 100 pounds, of feed, I'm talking if I don't pull any honey the entire year, and I'm talking from July 30th to the following April. It's not really more of like you're
Yeah,
focusing on winter feed here. There's a couple of guys I know that never harvest any honey, and they do very little supplementing feed, so they've gotta have that kind on there. Open feeding, it does sound like a great idea, minimum protective equipment, but you need to have some type on, because when you walk out there to change those jars or change those buckets, there's gonna be bees flying. So you're gonna get hit in the face, so you
We
need,
don't ever anymore go without protective equipment.
Yeah.
at least minimum have a veil on.
but open feeding also promotes robbing, so if you're gonna open feed a fair distance away from your hives. I mean, I've seen commercial guys, they'll have 400 hives out there, and they'll open feed, but that open feed is about a half mile away from their hive, just to prevent the robbing. So,
Okay, I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
It was the same question.
okay.
Could you do, like, if you do like the high top feeder, also do open feed, or no? Like, just have the, like, the open feeder, like, somewhere out on your ranch?
Good, what would be the reason behind it that you would wanna do that?
Just back up, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
it won't hurt it. The biggest thing you gotta worry about feeding, which would, we, not detailed, is your ratio. What are your ratios gonna be for your type of feed? Are you making sucrose and water, sugar and water? You using high fructose corn syrup? But what is the water to sugar ratio? And how do you prevent it from fermenting? Like the hive top feeder up there, yeah, those will hold 2 gallons, 3 gallons of syrup. How do you keep that syrup, whether it's sugar syrup or high fructose, how do you keep it from fermenting? We're-
Change it all the time?
Did you waste your money? You're throwing sugar away. So all you're doing is promoting ants, cause most people, they'll take it over there and they'll throw it on the ground, right? Next rain will wash it away. So I would study, if you're gonna feed syrup, high fructose or sugar water, figure out a way to feed it where it doesn't ferment.
Camden tablets that'll kill off any yeast, and it's safe for these Camden tablets. It's used in like home brewing.
How long would it take to ferment? What do you mean?
In the heat, 90 degrees heat, if your water sugar ratio is not right, in just 3-4 days,
Cause I do hummingbirds,
1 to 4,
1 to 4,
right?
you know, and it's good for 2 weeks. You know, before it gets a little moldy, then, and if they're not maybe feeding, then I'll change it or a week. But this summer, this is my first year with bees. And I got, I'm doing a lucid hive. So I got a 7-frame hive, they're double frames. Okay, Lancaster double frames, that's like 14 frames. there's only 7, so it's wide. I made a box like this here, the same width as the hive, same size, instead of 1 board in the center, I did 2. This wasn't my idea, I copied it off, you know, a deal. And 2 boards in the center, and then of course both sides had boards. And everything was sealed up and waterproof. I put a screen over the top, and then, on the 2 boards inside, the screen, V-screen, I had wooden floats that was thin sheet, like popsicle sticks. It was the same size, basically a little smaller than 2 sides. They would hold a gallon, half gallon on each side. And the floats would float up, V's come up in the center, and whatever, I filled them up with my shorts, no shirt, and, no net. I just take the top off and pour it through the top. They'd empty that in a week or less. Sometimes it was 4 days, a whole gallon. But that was, you know, August, July, maybe the end of July till I got that built, till I did that. And I did it on 3 different hives that I had. And they would all clean that sucker out in a week. It was like,
I've seen a good hive, a strong hive, and I've had it this week. They'll consume a gallon a day. If
Well-
they need it, they'll go through a whole gallon a day if it's a strong hive.
and they were getting pollen constantly, and of course, how do you know? Yeah, I'm completely new, and even, I guess your experience, how do you know? How do you see that big belly of honey coming back? There was some bees coming back without pollen, so I thought, okay, honeybee, or not the bee, you know? But, boy, they were going through it, you know, and I was amazed at how fast they ate that. And I was curious whether or not those floats would stick. But they didn't. And, cause you know, like maybe it was down there at the bottom for a couple days, and I thought, oh crap. Now, you know, I'm gonna have to take the screen top off. I made a portable screen top. I could push it one end and come up and I could take it off. Otherwise they'd stay down.
I've
And
used-
they'd come back up, they'd floated back up each time.
Yeah, I've used those types of feeders. They work quite well, like the one up there.
Hive top
in the-
feeder, right?
The high
Very
top
simple.
feeder. The
Yeah.
thing you gotta watch with those, I find most, is if you're making sugar syrup out of cane sugar, if your syrup ever's too ferment, it becomes very acidic and it eats the screen out real fast.
Okay.
And if you don't have sealed up around your screen good, bees have a tendency to find the hole and get into the main water compartment, and then they'll drown. But they work very good. I still got a few of them, but I moved away from them, but they work very good. I've got some of these feeders like this, oh no, that's not a feeder. They make one similar to this too, where this is solid, and it has floats in here too.
That's what I've got.
Well, it's got wooden floats, and they make the ones like you described that you made, which has a slit in the center, the bees come up through the center, the surface protected, but then they got the screen, to go over, well, like those, so they make a lot of different types, they all work good. The biggest thing is, I find, is you gotta make sure your syrup doesn't ferment.
Does apple cider vinegar help that?
Some people have done apple cider vinegar. I use lemon juice, but,
Does it make the honey taste like that?
Is there a ratio you use for that to the gallon, the lemon juice?
I use about, I don't know, a gallon of lemon juice to 300 gallons of syrup.
Yeah, so when we're doing.
What?
When we're doing a gallon of syrup, you put what?
Squirt, squirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like a tablespoon, quarter of a cup.
No.
I mean, if you're making a gallon, you just, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon, maybe. But, you know, you just got your water and your sugar and you mix it up. what I watch more than anything, and you can go find some books on bee nutrition, natural nectar has a natural pH level of between 3.1 to 3.4. Natural water that you're mixing your sugar in has a natural pH of around 5.5 to 6. Now, which means it's more alkaline than acidic, right? If you start looking at your diseases around, you'll find that most bees, a natural clover flow or a natural alfalfa, or even some of the canolas, a natural pH level in those nectars run about 3.2 to 3.3. So I try, when I mix my syrup, to get the pH level in my syrup down around 3.3 to 3.4. Because bacterias and certain diseases cannot live in the pH level from 3.2 to 3.4. And one of those bacteria or diseases that we're trying to prevent by doing that is I'm trying to prevent European foul brood. But that's why I do that. But you need to do your own research on it.
But you do that by adding the lemon juice? Is that what you're saying?
I lower my pH by using lemon juice, yeah. And you cannot go to Walmart and get a test kit for testing pH down to 3.2 or 3.3.
Where do you have to get that?
Dollar store.
Amazon.
Where'd you get yours at?
Amazon.
Who bought it from
Hey,
Walmart?
is your tester like what?
You can
garden
get-
people use?
You can get digital pH testers that'll go down that low, but everything you find at Walmart or whatever is gonna be for testing pool water, and they want it sitting there about 0.6 pH, so it don't go down low enough. But you need to do some
Plant
research.
one, right?
Pardon?
For the plants you did, that's the pH tester, like they have the testers for the pH of the plant section
That-
in Amazon.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
So is
yeah.
that where you got it at?
I got it off Amazon, mine'll test down to pH of 1 to pH of 10.
But you want it between 3.2 and 3.4?
I shoot for 3.2 to 3.4, yeah.
Okay.
But that's what I do. That doesn't mean it's right, it's just what I do. Every beekeeper does their own thing.
But if you do something and it works, that's a good thing.
I have lowered the amount of disease I got in my colony.
Have you tried to ever get it lower than that?
No. No, it gets too acidic. Bees won't touch it.
Do you use just the bottled, pre-bottled lemon juice? Or?
Freshly squeezed.
What I find.
Everyone, freshly squeezed.
Yeah, I can see out there with the.
With a little bit of Captain Morgan.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
No, but it's got preservatives in there,
Yeah.
so like, that's what I was curious, like. do you
I
look
use
for-
pure lemon juice
Okay.
wherever I can find it. But that's why I do it, is I use that to lower pH level. By lowering the pH level, you're also lowering other parts of your syrup to help prevent the fermentation. But I don't make sugar syrup anymore, I buy syrup by the semi-load.
Well, for us that are still shaking a 1 gallon bucket,
Now we'll be testing limits.
what's some other options that we
When you
may
have a
have?
tractor trailer full of bees, I think you need a little bit different scenario.
Yeah.
So,
Me and another beekeeper have talked about, and I think we're gonna do it, is we're gonna start supplying high fructose corn syrup locally.
Is that
Is
what you
we
use?
talked about doing.
So that's what you use?
High fructose 55,
In smaller containers for us?
5-gallon buckets.
Ah.
So we've been talking about it, but that's another subject, it's not for the bee club meeting.
Not yet, anyway.
Alright, so alternative options, if we don't, if the hives aren't heavy enough by winter, there are some options that we have. Of course, in Texas here, we have the option to really feed almost through most of our winter. If it gets down below 50, I think is when they start clustering. You they won't move over and feed, if it's a boardman feeder or an open feeding. So unless it's right around where they're at, they're not gonna move. So alternative options that we have, Tammy was nice enough to bring her version of a sugar board frame. So you make a sugar brick, you put that on top of the hive. There's different ways to do that, whether it be the queen excluder. I think this was just hardware cloth, that was a plastic queen excluder, and a different version of what it is. So you take that frame, you put it on top of the hive, and then you make your sugar bricks, and then you bring them out, put them on top. The condensation from the bees helps loosen some of the sugar. They go up, they feed it, bring it. I don't think they store it. I think it's just really used for feeding and keeping them energized and able to keep the hive warm. So that's one method, and this is how you make it. So 10 pounds of sugar or 1 cup of water, and then use mortar mix, a mortar mixer, or anything that you
Because
can
you
really
really can't stir it.
get it. No, you can't stir it. So either a beater or something.
It's a paint
yeah,
deal
that's-
fits on the end of your drill.
Yeah.
That's what I meant
That's
when I
what's in
said
that blue
mortar.
bucket. It's just one of those paint stirrers that you can pick up. Amazon, I think you can get it for $2-3. Just put it on the end of your drill. You gotta mix it up really well. Pack it into so put down some parchment paper. Pack it into there. If you see on the second, there's a 2x4 there. That 2x4 there is so the bees can get up into the sugar brick once it's hardened, because it's gonna harden like a brick, and then be able to feed it. Another option is just make them, go to Dollar Tree, get some aluminum pans, pack it into aluminum pans, take it out, put it on top of the hive at a later date. Usually you want some kind of mesh screen on top of that, so you're still gonna need some type of board or feeder type thing in order to put those on, but that's another option if you don't wanna make a whole big one to put on your hive.
Now, should the queen be accessible to this? Or they're gonna bring it to her?
They'll bring it to her.
Okay, I just wanna make sure.
Usually when they're clustered, the queen's gonna be in the middle. So
They're gonna protect her, yes.
Yeah.
See, my bottom board right here is actually a queen excluder.
Right.
So I have a question about the bottom part. When we first did that, we did it with plastic queen excluders. Well, they kind of warped, sort of. We're still using them for a regular queen excluder, but would it work for this? Should we go ahead and get a metal one? What should we do?
Do you have some support in the middle of it?
No.
You just using the queen excluder as a queen excluder, or you using the queen excluder as part of your candy board?
Well, right now, it's just as a queen excluder, but when we did it originally, it was to be a candy board.
As long as there's no hole in that plastic queen excluder, it doesn't make a difference how warped it is, as long as it seals up so the queen can't get up above there, and lay in your honey area in the summertime. As far as for a candy board, the ones I made some with a couple of beekeepers here. We always put a center support right through the center, just like that metal one is.
I think we got this from you, the design from you.
No, you wouldn't get that from me.
Yeah. I took pictures and I gave it to Mr. Rainey and I said, here, Jim said. And that's what he came up with.
But it's very, very basic design. The metal ones work great because they're rigid. You just put your cookie paper on there and away you go. I mean, the plastic ones, I got a whole stack of them at home and I use them, I don't know, 8-9 years.
So you leave the parchment paper on it?
The bees will throw the parchment paper
Yeah.
out.
Okay.
It's very
Or
funny to see
newspaper.
it all crumbled up down at the bottom.
Newspaper.
Now, if
As
you
long
go
as
to
you-
this route on
as
the
long
end, do you
as-
need to pack something around that void to try to help keep heat in?
Nope.
Just leave it as is?
Yep.
Biggest thing with a candy board is, see that middle picture there with the piece of 2x4 in it? You wanna make sure you remove that and then cut the paper underneath that.
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
bees have got a way to get up.
Cool.
What about that block at the front?
Yeah, that's what you want to take. You're talking
I
about
think the other is
this
a-
right here?
Yeah.
What
This
about
is just I think a ruler just
There's a
to
ruler.
show.
That's just show.
Yeah, so you pack your sugar in around the 2x4 block. Once it hards, you pull the block off, tear the parchment paper out,
Yep.
good to go.
For that hole,
For that, yes.
that hole. And then when you pull it out, I mean, you're still gonna have, as you can see, I still have some paper in some of these down here.
That works.
And it works.
For the metal queen excluder, does it, I'm thinking it's summertime when it's 103 degrees outside, so that's not an issue.
Well, we don't use this in the summertime.
Well, if I'm using it for a queen excluder.
Oh,
Just
for
for
queen
a
excluder, I don't know
queen
that.
I
It's
know
plastic.
there's thousands of metal queen excluders used in Texas in the summertime. The sun ain't beating on it, so
No.
it's not getting hot. It's not like leaving the Crescent Ridge out and get a pickup in the sun.
You'll know the little vehicle up there, just, oh, it's hot, you can go back down.
Another idea is fondant. I don't know if anybody has used fondant. Of course, you can go down to a baker and maybe pick it up, cheaper than you can make it. But if you're feeling creative and you do want to make fondant, I have just a quick recipe. So it's just different ratios of sugar, water, and vinegar, and then it's heated to a candy 135. So I think that's like the hardball candy temperature. You let it cool, and then you kind of beat it up or mix it to put a little bit of air distribution throughout the fondant, kind of like if you make marshmallows. And then you can add any substitutes, pollen, anything like that at that time. You can either pour it into one of these with parchment paper on top of it, or you can use pie pans and pour it into there and then just do the same thing as you would the sugar brick. These are a little bit softer, a little bit easier for the bees to get to if they don't have a lot of condensation. So just another option that, and they store in the fridge in Zip-Tok bags for a long period of time.
So, sugar board lasts about a winter.
Yeah.
How long is one of these last?
Depending on the size, you'll probably get a month.
Okay, so if I made one that filled up, would you suggest you could put it in the sugar board?
Yep.
About a month?
Yep.
They'll go through it quicker, I guess.
The fondant, they go through quicker.
It is more pliable.
Yeah.
But if it was a candy board size, where most candy boards will have 7 to 8 pounds of sugar in there, and you'll find that the bees a lot of times won't touch that sugar board, usually until late February, it seems like, mid-February, because they'll use all their other stores first. I would think if you had 10 pounds of fondant in there, it's gonna last you a long time. It's not something you're gonna have to go check on all the time. Yes, it is softer, but it all relates back to your outside air temperature. How are your bees clustered? The tighter their cluster, the less they're gonna feed. Warmer it is, the more they're gonna use, whether it's hard candy or soft candy.
And then just last thing, just upcoming learning opportunities. If you guys want to go to the Texas A&M, the extension office is offering a second steps in beekeeping virtual class. It's $35 to register. It's October 23rd, 24th, and 30th between 6 and 8. I think that's just one and then the 3 different dates. And then they're talking about all those things. I pulled this one off of Facebook, so you can go to the Texas A&M Extension Facebook page and you can pull that off, or there's a QR code. Bee Expo, are you going this year, Jim, to the Bee Expo? That's in Louisville, Kentucky this year, January 2nd through 25th. I don't think tickets available.
Tickets are available
Right now?
right now.
Yeah.
They're selling fairly fast, and hotel rooms are getting hard to get.
Yeah. If there's a expo or a convention or something to go to, that's the one. It's Cayman Reynolds has started that off of the Hive Life one, and now he's.
Is that the guest speaker?
No, Fred Dunn is the TBA, so that's the Texas Beekeeper. That one is happening November 15th and 16th here in Austin, and Frederick will be there at that one. So the Bee Expo has 20, 30 speakers. I mean,
Well, Frederick done down there, he has YouTube videos too that you can watch. A
so.
little slow, and they're very long, but he has lots of information in it.
He's got very dry humor.
He does.
Fred Dunn, I've met him several times at the Bee Expo. He's a good guy.
Oh, he's amazing,
Yeah.
but
Great resource.
he'll talk.
So there's
I think
three,
that's a source that if you wanna watch something.
Yeah.
So,
I think that was it. Oh, and then we are today, again, going live on YouTube. If you miss, a meeting, we try to put these on YouTube every month. You can go back and you can watch them, if you have questions, or if you're out and can't make it, you're sick. Again, we try to do it every time. Doesn't happen every time, but we'll try to put it on YouTube live so that everybody can, make sure to participate, so.
we might have a test, you never know.
And that was it.
That was it, awesome.
One last thing I have in, our Facebook page, Wise Texas Bee Club Facebook page. About 9 months ago or so, maybe a little longer, we were getting a lot of garbage on there. A lot of inappropriate stuff, and, we got a lot of complaints. So we changed the rules on posting on our Facebook page. So if you try to make a post and you don't see it right away, that's because I haven't seen it, or Amy Johnson hasn't seen it, or Donnie hasn't seen it. Because all posts on the Facebook page have to be approved by a moderator before they will show up on the Facebook page. Okay? Trying to keep the garbage out. Second thing, if you're trying to join the group, there's a section there, there's a set of questions you need to answer. If you don't answer the questions, I may look at the profile. If I don't like it, you get declined. So if you've been asked to join the Facebook page and not got on, and you don't understand why, it's because you didn't answer the question, and I couldn't figure out whether it's real or not. So just so everybody's aware, that's what's going on with Facebook page. Okay?
Thank you, Jay, thank you for doing that.
Appreciate the extra work.
Yes.
And probably maybe just one, because I saw a few questions on this on Facebook, is how to join the club. So this is our website, Wise Texas Bee Club. You can go to membership here, and you can pay online. Or again, if you guys wanna come and write a check, or Venmo, I know Amy set that up, I just don't have it with me. If you wanna pay Venmo, that's an easy way to do it also, so.
All right, excellent, good job, thank you.
Yep.
All right, we have about 16 minutes, so we'll take, ever have any questions till that ends?
I wondered when we're gonna do the honey tasting.
Oh,
Everybody's honey.
we need to decide that. For all you new people that haven't been here in the past, the Goodner girls have won every year. And anyway, so in December, instead of having a meeting, we kind of just come and we have a blind testing and we all vote on who has the best honey, and the Goodner girls have won every year. So we tried to have it when they weren't gonna be here this year. People are not gonna be here for the December meeting. So it was brought up, instead of having a meeting in November, to have the tasting in November, and then just have a regular, have him come and talk taxes in December. So, what do y'all want? So we can let everybody know. Y'all wanna do the tasting in November?
Sure, why not?
That way the Goodner girls can win again?
Well, you want it in December, I don't care, I mean, I love having the tasting, that's all I know.
I think it's in December, so I can win. But anyway, all right, so let's just do that, where we have the tasting in November, and then we'll have a regular meeting. You'll let me know if you can come. All right,
So if everybody wants to bring
they're honey.
their honey,
It can't have a label on it.
And it doesn't have to be a big jar.
Yeah.
just small.
It's just a small jar, because, I mean, we just put a little out, you go by with a little stick and take a little sampling, and you get a new stick for every honey. So we're not, sharing germs, and then you decide which one you want.
Honey got antioxidants in there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. So, is that okay?
That's fine. How many can you bring in? Because I have,
One. Just one.
So pick your best.
Yeah, pick your best.
does it have to be, can it be like a hot honey or?
We haven't done any
Regular.
infused
Yeah.
type honey in the
And that's fine, I mean, I
past.
just,
I say let's not do that because, just food allergy thing,
I'm good with it,
so let's just keep it straight honey,
works for me.
so. Any questions about that? Just remember, it can't have a label on it.
Meat, if you bring meat, if I taste it.
The judges can try that.
Off to a separate room?
Do y'all remember that, were y'all at the workshop that, what was his name, was it Angelo? He got a whole bunch of honey from Louisiana and he made mead, so he brings it to this workshop that we're having. And gives everybody this little bit, you know, and everybody's going back for seconds. And it's like, the bottle was empty by the time we left. 'cause it
I thought that was
Miguel.
Miguel, wasn't it?
Miguel.
Was it Miguel's?
Yes.
Miguel's, all right. So you can bring it.
Well, if anyone else makes, you know.
Well, you'll
Miguel's?
win if you're the only one.
Yeah.
You'll win if you're the only one. There you go. Because we're here, we're not in any
Yeah.
library, so it'll be legal.
Yeah,
So, okay? So, November, honey tasting, you'll get back with me on the December program. Sounds wonderful. Any other questions? What are we down to?
I have a question. If James goes to Wise County, do you need some bodies to stand behind you with large guns or anything?
The meeting on Thursday, next week, on